Never fails. Hi, Nicole, welcome.
Hi, sorry.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. Hope you're having a good day. Glad you're here. Looks like someone's trying to join by iPhone too, which may not be connecting. All right, I'm gonna wait one more minute and then I will just let stragglers in as they join, but we will get started in just a moment. Well, bad for whoever's on the iPhone because it doesn't seem like it's connecting. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get us started, recognizing we'll probably have some people jumping in as we get underway, but welcome to the Elevated Admin community. I'm Eileen Coombs, your host for today, and I am the Community and Education Lead here at Delegate Solutions, where I lead our learning division. And essentially that means I help run all of our delegation training and coaching services for the company. I love helping business leaders and especially their teams really think about delegation and how to embrace that culture throughout their organizations. And I'm based in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I'm really excited to have you all here today. And for those of you listening to the recording after, I hope that you find today's session valuable. But really the whole point of the Elevated Admin community is to connect and learn and share and just grow and develop with one another. I think we are our greatest educators when it comes to the admin world, and each of us has definitely tackled different challenges in our roles, different types of projects, tackle different technology issues. And so while this group is certainly an opportunity to learn from our experts, it's also an opportunity to learn from one another, because I think that's one of our greatest strengths. So each month, the agenda is run just the same, but if you're new to the group, I want to make sure you understand that we spend the first half of our session always focused on a guest speaker who will come in and share their area of expertise on a particular subject matter that will help us think differently about the work we do and the teams we support and what have you. After the speaker, we usually go into a breakout room to what we call our shared learning. And this is time for us to leverage our collective brain power and experience to share new ideas and tools, tricks, even brainstorm solutions to issues and challenges we might be facing. And then we'll end with some announcements, but I always try to keep it within the hour, starting on time and ending on time. And I hope we'll all feel leaving like we've added something or improved our toolbox of skills and knowledge in some way. So I'd love to move forward into today's topic. I'm thrilled to introduce Mary Pat Knight. She's a leadership coach and expert in emotional intelligence. Her 30-year career has spanned executive leadership positions in marketing, operations, strategic planning, human resources, development, and even executive coaching. She is the founder and CEO of Leaders Inspired and the author of the #1 international bestseller, The Humanized Leader. Mary Pat has developed a progressive system of training and coaching which creates emotional intelligence in entrepreneurial, founded, and family-led businesses. The system is proven to create healthy teams, inspire leaders, and transform cultures. Leaders Inspired exists with the simple goal in mind. When inspired leaders inspire others, they have the capacity to change the world. So I'm super excited to turn the controls over to Mary Pat to share more on how we can maybe limit some of the drama we see in the teams we work with. And so Mary Pat, I'm going to stop sharing so that you can share your screen. And
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you for having me here. I am going to share my screen in just a minute, but I want to be just talking to you voice to voice right now. Thank you for those of you who have joined us today, and those of you who are listening on the afterplay. You're going to get the same experience just after the class. So I'm glad that we have this opportunity. Over the 30 plus years of my career, one of the things that I have noticed over and over again is no matter where you are and what strata of the organization that you are in, the thing that derails team health and the thing that derails accountable performance is when we give into drama. So my topic today is to ditch the drama, and that's what we will be talking about. So I'm going to share my screen so you can watch the slideshow with me. I'm going to ask some questions. I'm not expecting a response from actually anyone in the group right now, but I do want to invite those of you who are in the group and those of you who are watching afterwards to think about these questions so that you can start to deduce for yourself how drama shows up in your organization and what you can actually do about it. So we're going to ditch the drama today to build a healthy team. That's what we're all about. And I think it's interesting that those of you who are part of this Elevate community, you're in a key role. Actually, you're kind of in the catbird seat. You're in the role that puts you into the direct line of vision of the drama that happens in the organization. That's not to say you're in the middle of the drama. It's not to say you're the instigator of the drama, but you can certainly see the drama, and sometimes you can see it coming a mile away. Would you admit that I am true? Say yes, because I believe that that is so. You are in one of the most powerful seats to be able to spot it and also to be able to support a transition into a healthy team. And I believe you have more power than you give yourself credit for. So that's my bias coming into this. And I'm so happy to be working with this team of people, knowing that you really are in so many ways, not only the wind beneath the wings, but you're also the one who's in the top of the navigator spot, you know, that the pirate ship where you sit in the crow's nest. You're up there, you can see it all. So we have way too much drama. And if you think about what behaviors show up when drama is stirring or when it is a full-blown boil. And so if you think about the behaviors that show up, you're going to see, I don't know, finger pointing. You think about this, make some notes for yourself. You're going to see withholding of information. You're going to see deflection. You're going to see arguments. You're going to see defensiveness. You're going to see hiding. You're going to see bullying, and you're going to see rescuing all over the place. So the reason why I want to focus on behaviors is because behavior is what can change. So when you think about those behaviors, now the impact of those kinds of behaviors, the impact is exponential, because the impact, well, let's just put it in a sentence. You are unable to build a culture of accountability when you're invested in drama. So accountability is completely elusive. And a lot of people go around wanting other people to be accountable for their stuff rather than taking their own accountability. So the impact is huge, because if you have a handful of people, even if you have another handful of people above that who are being accountable, but that handful of people are not being accountable, it absolutely destroys trust in the relationship. So that's why it's really smart for us to take a look at what we can do to identify and ditch the drama. So are y'all with me? Anyone? Nobody wants to leave, right? You're with me. Okay, good. Let's just take, there's question. Here's another question. What if we took 100% responsibility, whether it's our drama or not? So I love this quote, if I can get to it, by Marshall Rosenberg, who is part of the Center for Nonviolent Communication. And by the way, that's an incredible body of knowledge, nonviolent communication. And there's he wrote a book about it, and it's a great way to communicate from a heartful place, but being completely upfront and honest. And he said, we are dangerous when we are not conscious of our responsibility for how we behave, think, and feel. So what if each of us took 100% responsibility for not only identifying the drama, but taking some action to minimize it, either in ourselves, or believe it or not, you could have impact with other people as well. So that's what I'm hoping you will see coming out of our time today when we take a look at ditching the drama with each other. I want to show you why we abdicate responsibility or why we deflect. So we're going to make it personal for a minute. So what I'd like you to do as I'm taking you through the framework is think about yourself, how you show up. I also want you to be aware. So you're going to be in two positions at once, here with you and up here at 30,000 feet, taking a scan of the people that you work with, not from a place of judgment or criticism, but from a place of assessment. See, the mark of an emotionally intelligent leader is accurate self-appraisal. So if you are appraising yourself, you can then move forward and appraise others, not from a place of judgment, simply from a place of seeing and knowing. So now I want you to have the point of focus be on yourself right now as I take you through why we abdicate our responsibility or deflect any type of accountability that we're asked to take on. And this is how it starts and how it perpetuates. This is the beginning of the framework of emotional leadership, which is the first of 4 frameworks in the humanized leader. And the humanized leader looks at emotional leadership, it looks at communication leadership, it looks at performance leadership, and it looks at genius leadership. And nothing is possible until we are emotionally regulating ourselves, until we're aware and we're performing with emotional regulation. So here is the drama framework. I'm sure you have heard the term comfort zone, and there's 1,000 memes out there on social media around the comfort zone. But everything begins and ends with the comfort zone. There are 2 jobs of the leader. One is to make a decision, the other is to manage change. And if we have learned nothing in the last 3 years, then we are changing all over the place. Yeah, change. From a pandemic to the economy to AI, change. Here's what happens in the comfort zone. Someone's cheese gets moved. Do you remember that old book, Who Moved My Cheese? Do you remember that book? Yeah. So someone's cheese gets moved, and human beings don't like it when that happens. We don't like to change. We don't like to be asked to change, and we certainly don't want to volunteer to change for the most part. There are those who are wired to be absolute risk takers, but I'd say 8 out of 10 of us are like, don't move my cheese. But someone comes along and moves the cheese. And whether it's my own desire that moves the cheese or there's a circumstance that makes the cheese move, what it means is I have to go to the edge of my comfort zone. And my comfort zone is where I know everything, where I know what I believe, I know what my paradigms are, I know what my habits are, I have go-to behaviors, I know what I know about how to be successful in my job. And outside of the comfort zone is the great unknown. And as human beings, we have to continue to expand into the great unknown. And this is the first opportunity to activate drama, because if I don't like it and I gotta do it, I'm gonna have a reaction. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you ever have a reaction when someone asks you to expand beyond what you currently are doing or what you currently know? Would you? Yeah, so I would say yes, you have that. So when that happens at the edge of your comfort zone, when you're asked to expand, you start to have feelings, emotions come up, anger, anxiety, maybe excitement, fear. So those emotions show up. You start to have physical feelings, which might be heart pounding, palms sweating, headache. So you have physical feelings that give you, an alert that you're getting uncomfortable. And then you have limiting voices in your heads. You have the thoughts that show up. You say things like, who are you? Who do you think you are? You can't do this. You're not old enough. You're not smart enough. You're not educated enough. You're going to fail. What if you do succeed and you have to do it? You hear all those voices? Well, maybe those are just my voices. You have to figure out what your voices are, but they're there. And what it says is, please go back inside your comfort zone, and it's your job to push through. That's your job, because you're a human being, and human beings were here on earth to expand. We are here to grow. And I don't think I'm overstating that. Now, on the edge of the comfort zone, when all of that stuff starts to happen, it's an invitation to the next part of the framework, and that's a trigger. And a trigger is an emotional hijack that causes a reaction. And it may not make sense. And the science behind it is something happens, it activates some subconscious memory, and you start to flood with all the physical feelings and all the emotions and all the stuff, and you get yourself all into a reaction, and then you stop thinking because adrenaline is flooding your body. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm talking about? Has that ever happened to you? Well, it probably happened to me this morning, so we're all in good company. When that emotional hijack happens, we actually go emotion blind. The adrenaline is in our body. We go into the fight, flight, or freeze part of our reptilian brain, and we stop thinking, especially in an emotionally intelligent, mature way. We start reacting, and many times we start reacting as though we are children. That's the way. If you want to read something really cool about this, pick up Marshall Goldsmith's book called Triggers. It's just really a wonderful study in this. So when you react, you go to drama. It's your job to catch yourself at the edge of your comfort zone. It's your job to catch yourself when you're feeling the physical part of the trigger, when your heart starts pounding or you start sweating. That's your tell, and you need to put a strategy in place so that you go into responsiveness rather than reaction. But 8 times out of 10 or 9 times out of 10, or maybe for practice, it's 5 times out of 10, but at least 50% of the time, we tip ourselves over into a high emotional reaction because we didn't catch the trigger. Does that sound familiar? Now, let's take a step back. Remember, I asked you to be here watching yourself. Now let's go to 30,000 feet around comfort zone and triggers. Are you seeing any of this in any of the organizations that you support? Are you seeing any of this with any of your, if say you have a visionary integrator partnership that you're supporting, or say, you're working with another operating system that might have a similar, number 1, number 2 supporting each other. Are you seeing any of this there? Are you seeing any of this from the rest of the staff who might have to respond to unclear communication? All right, so you see it in yourself, you see it at 30,000 feet. And then what happens is when the triggers are not managed and the comfort zone, you don't realize that what you're doing is expanding and it's desirable and okay, the reaction sends you to the drama triangle. And that's what I want to talk with you about for the rest of our time, is the drama triangle. But now you have the framework, you have the science, you have the methodology behind it. So you are much more educated about where drama comes from, which in my mind will lead you to a place of having some compassion for yourself and for others. And compassion is at the root of the humanized leader. Take a deep breath, checking in with the team. Everyone good? We're all tracking along? Okay, I'm seeing some head nods. Good. Okay, good. Let's talk about drama. I want to make sure you know how to deal with it and spot it and deal with it. So the reaction creates the drama, and the drama puts us into one of 3 roles. And you may have heard this training before. And if any of you have read The Coaching Habit, Michael Bungay-Stanier, who's the author of that, visits this a little bit in his book. I'm going to give you one more resource. Of course, The Humanized Leader is a resource for you, but I'll give you one more resource, which is The Empowerment Dynamic by, I think it's David Emerald. Also does a very good job of explaining this trio. Now I'm going to explain it to you. The villain. Think about when I use the term villain, what behaviors or characteristics or qualities of being come up for you. What you're going to see with a villain is somebody who's seen a problem and does not want to take accountability for solving the problem, but enjoys very much making you pay for the problem that they have found. Just see people like that in your life? So the behaviors you're going to see are criticism, you're going to see bullying, you're going to see finger pointing, you're going to see somebody who wants to exert power and authority and control, and is not always a pleasant character. And is usually pretty overt with their criticism and feels totally justified in being as critical as they are, because by golly, they have found a problem and you're the one who caused it. What doesn't happen for the villain is they don't ever step into their own accountability for being a part of the resolution when they're in their drama dysfunction. We're going to talk in just a minute how they get out of that and they start to take accountability and responsibility. But you clearly know that you're with a villain if they're blaming and shaming and finger pointing and being control freaks in a way that makes other people super uncomfortable. And it's a one up, one down. All right, think about the villains that you've encountered in your life. Think about when you go into that villain role, because we all can do it. We all can do it. So every villain needs the next character, which is the victim. So the victim is also on the lookout for the villain because the villain reinforces the victim's worldview of being hopeless, helpless, and powerless. So the victim wants to hide, wants to play it safe, and does not feel that they have any sway or autonomy or any superpower that allows them to have an accountability result. So they also deflect accountability. They make excuses, they hide from the issue, they procrastinate, they blame other people, but in a different way. They don't do it like the villain, but they blame people like for not giving them an opportunity. Like, you don't pay me enough. You didn't train me enough. I don't have enough information. I don't have a title. You're the manager. I'm not. Does any of this sound familiar to you? So this character wants to stay safe, wants to hide, and produces a lot of kick up of drama, because this is also a character that might look for other victims to create their own, great pity party with each other. So we're going to find people who are gossiping with each other and talking about other people and complaining about the organization. And just think about the last time you were in a traffic jam when someone in front of you was putting their brakes on all the time. Did you complain about it? That's victim energy. So we all have it. Think about the times you show up as a victim. Now look at your organization. Do you see villains and victims in your organization? Do you see the dance of the hammer and the hider? Do you see that? All right, let's go to the next character. The next character is the hero. And the hero is probably one we're mostly familiar with, although we're pretty familiar with the victim. I think it's some of the fact if we're in service roles, like many of us are, we're not always in a villain role unless it's with our family. So you're probably going back and forth between victim and hero when you're in your dysfunction. The hero swoops in to save the day and does so whether the day needs to be saved or not. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to look for the problems and I'm going to swoop in to fix the problems, and I'm going to make the decisions, and I will volunteer for the overtime, and I will take on all the extra activity. And what I want in exchange is your recognition. I want you to recognize my effort. Now, this is kind of an interesting one because the hero is based in service. And so that's really the through line. I want to be of service, but it is service on steroids. As much as we have two characters, the villain and the victim, who want to avoid accountability at all costs, we have somebody in the hero role who tips over into over accountability. And the result is that people in the organization are robbed of opportunities to learn, to grow, to critically think, and to solve their own problems. Wow. So I want you to think about the villain, the victim, and the hero. And for those of you who are in the galley right now, would love to see this in chat. When you're triggered, when your comfort zone is punched, not normally, but when you know that you're stressed into the max, where do you go? Villain, victim, or hero? So you guys have to vote now. And those of you who are watching the replay, you have to vote. Are you villain, victim, or hero? Let's see it in the chat. I know we're going to have some heroes here because we always do. All right. All right. We have heroes. We have victims. Let's see. Let's see one more. Oh, who's up here? Okay. Yes. So Eileen, I want to give you this one thing and then we're going to move on. Victim with some hero tendencies, I think, is a really smart way to look at this. And then what ends up happening is a victim who has hero tendencies or a hero who goes to victim tendencies ends up, I don't know if you can see my mouse here, right in the center of the triangle in a very special place called martyr. I have to do it. You're making me do it. And I'm the only one who can do it. Do you see that familiar refrain? Now, I would say those of you, especially those of you who are in a high active admin role, you might find yourself in martyr more often than you want to be. All right, so you want to get out of it? Does anyone want to stay here? You want to stay here? All right, no. Okay, let's get out of it, okay? This is what we're going to do. There is a way out. And the way out is to move from reaction to response. It's the way out of drama. And it's easier said than done, but I want to take you through the formula. And I first learned this from Jack Canfield, who wrote Success Principles, wonderful transformational teacher. E plus R equals O is a ratio that quickly can be disseminated as E, event. Something happens, an event occurs. What can you do about it? Well, whatever you do about it gets you your O, which is your outcome. If you want a favorable outcome, you're going to manage the R, and the R are those two words, reaction or response. So somebody comes and accuses you of making a mistake, and you start to argue with them and you get defended, and the outcome is you have a break of trust, and it goes on for a week. Somebody comes to you and says, you made a big mistake, and you stop and you manage your trigger and you say, I don't need to feel victimized by this. I do need to be curious and find out what is going on. So instead of getting defended, you respond by asking a question, by getting curious, and you have a better outcome because you'll have either more information, or at the very least, you'll feel better about yourself. E plus R equals O. And we want to go back to the top of our presentation today when I asked, what if you took 100% responsibility? And this is the 100% responsibility that I want you to take, is that how can you become more and more and more aware so that you can move from reaction to response, and your very role modeling of that will help to keep the organization out of drama. Do you see how powerful you are? Every person can create this ripple. And if 5 of you create the ripple, wow, where does that ripple go? To China. So it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. All right. The impact on the culture of accountability is when all 3 of these are in dysfunction, you don't have any. You got a lot of finger pointing, blaming, and hiding. The impact on the culture of accountability when you can get yourself out of the drama triangle is that people take ownership and problems get solved. I've seen it over and over and over again. So how does this happen? This is the last part of what we're going to talk about with each other, and I want you to take some good notes for yourself about this. This is how you self-coach, and this is also how you bravely and boldly, with great courage, coach other people. Your tool is always going to be the open-ended question. That's your tool. So just a quick primer, the open-ended question invites information and curiosity, and it is asked in a way where you answer with more than just yes or no. The closed-ended question, you answer with yes or no, okay? Are we going? Yes. When are we going and when will we arrive? Much more information is being requested at that point. But to transform drama to leadership, you have to recognize the secret power of each of the 3 characters. See, the villain has a super secret power, and you want this secret power on your team. The villain sees the defect. The villain sees the problem. The only thing that happens when they get into the drama is they won't take accountability for being a part of the solution. So we want to coach the villain into the possibility of being in quality control or becoming the problem solver. And you do that by asking questions, which we'll look at in just a moment. Then actually we'll look at it in just a moment. The victim has another interesting superpower. See, they've told a story of their helplessness for so long that they've become convicted. I mean, it's almost a righteous conviction of my helplessness and hopelessness. So if they can tell one story, what could be possible if we help them create a different story? and started with really, really small aspects of this to help them create momentum that something more is possible, that they are more powerful than they give themselves credit for. And the hero who knows where all the bones are buried and how to do all the things and volunteers for all the stuff and can fix all the things, wouldn't we want them to leverage their service in a way that they really serve the organization by coaching others to be as capable and as problem solving and as critically thinking as they are? Wow. Could you imagine the transformation in the organizations that you work with if you were able to ask yourself or others the types of questions that help them make this transformation? I mean, this is powerful, powerful, powerful stuff. Let's stop for just a minute. I want to share with you some of the villain questions that might be useful for you. We want the villain to understand that finger pointing doesn't work in our organization. However, seeing the problem is so important. So we value the fact that they see the problem and we ask possibility questions. How could you provide a solution to this? Who on the team could you work with to fix this? Now that you see this, how would you fix it? You might talk to them also about the quality of their communication. What is the impact on that type of criticism? And how could you convert it to feedback instead? So there's all kinds of possibility questions. You'd be asking yourself that too. Victim, what's the first thing you could do to make it better? If you could fix this today, what action would you take? What kind of story could be a different story that you could tell right now? You want to ask possibility questions and start to create momentum. And the coach, the hero to coach, who on the team needs an opportunity? Who could learn from you? If you won the Mega Millions tomorrow, who would be doing your job when you took your sabbatical? We would be asking possibility questions to see that it's preferential to coach. And here's the other part of it, the follow through. Every single time a villain takes on the quality control leadership, or a victim creates a new, more possible story, or a hero bothers to coach other people in the organization, we bring positive attention to it. And that's how we keep reinforcing the positive behavior. What do you think of that? Think you can do that? I think you're more powerful than you give yourself credit for. I believe that you could do this even in the slightest of ways. People may not even know what you're doing, but now that you're in the know, you could actually leverage this to create a healthier organization. And that's actually what my hope is for you. So I want to sum it up because we're at the end of our time together, and I hope you all enjoyed this and followed with this. This is my favorite thing to talk about. So I always have fun, and I'm hoping that you did too. I want to give you the 3 takeaways. So if nothing else, take a screenshot of this slide or write these things down, because this is the takeaway from all the work that we did today. Part of the leader's job is the emotionally intelligent management of change. And when you come to grips with that for both yourself and for others, your world is a better place. You won't be fighting the change. You will be leaning into it and finding a way to enact the change without the 3 characters of villain, victim, and hero. E plus R equals O, huge takeaway. Pay attention to the R. I always have said to my clients for years and years and years, in my one-on-one coaching and in my team-based coaching, manage the R. As a matter of fact, sometimes I have a couple of promotional items that people have made and they've given to me. And basically all it says is manage the R on the coffee cup or on the couche. Manage the R. When you can manage your response or reaction, and the preferential way is responding, your whole world will change. And then ask a transformational question. What could be possible if I'm acting as a villain if I offered a solution? What could be possible if I'm acting in the behavior of a victim, I took one small action? What could be possible if I'm acting in the behavior of a hero, that I didn't fix it for them and I let them fix it for themselves? So take a screenshot of this so that you have this. These are marching orders, really leadership marching orders for you. And so to create momentum with what you have learned today, what will you do? Make a commitment to yourself and If you wanna follow me, would love, I'm not selling to you. I have nothing, I have nothing to offer at this point except to keep a conversation going on LinkedIn. That's the best place to connect with me. I do a lot of publishing over there. And I want to thank you again, Eileen, for having me. This was such a pleasure to be here. And I just hope this added some value to your leadership toolkit.
That was amazing. Thank you, Mary Pat. I have like a ton of notes and this was so timely. So I really appreciate you sharing your insights and knowledge with us. Does anyone have any questions for Mary Pat before we send her on her way? Always a quiet group.
That's good. You know what? I love the fact, and I think actually, so it's really important to honor this, is that we need time to process. And so this was a lot of information thrown at you in a short amount of time. So please take the time you need to process and then do the research that you would like to learn more about the material.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Mary
I
Pat.
think it's really great, Mary. I really appreciate it. I think this is not something that you like get reminded of enough. So when I saw that this was going to be a topic, I was really excited about it because there's a lot. I don't have it as much because I'm a one-man team now, but at my old company, I had it a lot with, and it was, I wish I would have listened to this then.
I hear you, Nicole. Thank you. Thanks for checking in. And Zenobia, thank you very much also for your words, and thank you for being here. We're good?
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. I'm going to turn it back to you so that you can lead the rest of